Yo, JD here, Limitless, and we are back again doing some world record attempts. And of course, we're gonna have to do it at China, and not because of the coronavirus, but because I have it in a league race tomorrow at the point of actually doing this video. That is the reason why I've done it. And we're going to do it in classic cars though, because I want to do all the classics first before moving on to the modern. And I can't believe I haven't actually done this track in this car, because they're probably my two favourite combinations. China, one of my favourite tracks, and this car, one of my favourite cars. And you can see the time to beat is a 30.7, and sometimes this car is quite quick, or quite close to the modern cars, but that's with a lot more flowing, less slow speed corners. But this one here is about a second and a bit off, about a second and a half off of what the modern cars are. So see, quite a few of the top guys were using ABS, stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge still. I'm not expecting it to be too comfortable or anything, but I've done a bit of practice. Well, I'm quite familiar with this track because I've been doing it quite a lot this week in preparation for my race tomorrow, which is live streamed at 8 PM on my YouTube channel. But yeah, coming into this, feeling pretty comfortable, having to get used to the car a little bit, and as always, going out with the default setup, which is just like a cargo ship, which I always talk about, has zero rotation, and typically I would say it's about 1.5 to 2 seconds slower than when you bolt on a real kind of setup. And in this video here today, you're probably going to see quite a lot of laps in a row, and to be honest, without ruining anything, or trying not to ruin anything at all, this was quite a good video, quite a good attempt that I did here, and you'll be able to see pretty much almost some uncut footage of the whole video. This is pretty much the whole video, the whole recording that I did. So this was quite late at night. Could have definitely gone on longer, but sometimes these attempts are going to be quite quick, and other attempts I might not even do it. Who says I even did it this time? But you know what I mean. This one here is pretty much unedited, and I think that's really important as well, because a lot of people do seem to prefer that, where you get to see my progression, because I think that's really important to give you a realistic perspective of when someone's on time trial trying to get a good time. Say this every single video because it's 100% true. You've just got to be patient and really persevere a bit, and find something that works for you. But right now I'm doing what I do, and that is just with a completely stock default setup. I like to try and get a lap that's 8 or 9 out of 10. I feel that is pretty good. Can't really go too much quicker, maybe a tenth or 2 tenths quicker if I spent a year doing it. But once I'm pretty happy with that, and it's validated, you can see I've invalidated this lap, but I like to continue as well, because I'm not really a fan of restarting all the time. Otherwise you just don't get into the rhythm, or just get the momentum going through the track, and I think that's really important as well, because if you just keep on stopping, you're just not going to build up muscle memory that you really need to get for all 3 sectors. To hook all 3 sectors up is pretty much what I'm saying here. But yes, so far here, let's see what we're doing here. So I think this is going to be probably my best lap I've done on the stock setup. So going a little bit wide, but in that corner you can kind of get away with it, because then it allows you to get a very nice slingshot corner come up here. And I started to brake quite a bit later coming into here. You really have to slow the car down on this track on the apex. You have to really slow it down and then release like a slingshot, as I just said. Going through into here, taking a nice late apex through here. Really want to throw the car into here, but with the stock setup, no risk of the back end washing out, because there's just so much understeer. And again, through the slow speed corners, you'll probably find yourself going down an extra gear than you would do with a real setup on, because with a real setup on, the car's got to be much more responsive and oversteery. You actually need to keep it in high gears to try and stop the back end from actually washing away. But we get quite a nice exit, and as I was talking before, you could see from my first lap to the second lap to the third lap of just how much progression I've made, and that is purely just braking later, just being more aggressive, just turning that fraction a different degree for the corner. It can really make such a big difference. And I think definitely in this car, it's probably one of the most sensitive cars there is on this game. You can make a huge difference by just slightly adapting your line, just the throttle application, the braking, and going across the line now. That is 32.5, as Jeff has just told me. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm fully satisfied. So I'm going to go back to the pits, and now I'm going to put on a setup, preferably the top no assist setup, which is also a 30.7. So that is comforting to see. At least I know, well, at least an assist runner is not miles out in front or anything at all. And I think I am the fastest person who has not put on a setup, so completely default setup. And I think we're in 70th, as we can see there, which we are. So what we're going to do is now, as I move it back up to the top, I'm going to go on the quickest no assist guy. So the guy in P2, I'm going to put on his setup, see how I go with that. And quite often, again, I've said this pretty much every video I've done, not everything is going to work for you. And 9 times out of 10, when I put on someone else's setup who's got a world record or who's in the top 5 or something like that, it really actually doesn't work for me. And that's something I've made a mistake on myself in league races. And recently I've started to fix that now again. But towards the end of the last seasons of leagues that I was doing, I was really trying what works for everyone else, and it really wasn't working for me. It really wasn't suiting my driving style. Whereas now I've gone back to my roots, really, of what works for me. Depending on, obviously, this car and the modern cars, they're different setups, of course, but I've really gone what works for me, and I've just found so much more consistency and raw pace and just comfort when I'm driving. So don't be discouraged if you put on a setup and it's not quick straight away. Again, you'll need to persevere with it and have the patience. Might need 10 laps, 20 laps, maybe even 30 laps, but you need to give it time. I can assure you 99% of people do not come in and set a world record within the first 10 minutes. No, quite a lot of people spend hours. I definitely did back in the day. I spent absolutely hours on these kind of videos. I try and limit it to 60 minutes, absolutely max, just for the purpose of a video, and also again to give you a real view of what it's like to come in and struggle, and you might not get it all the time. And this is my first lap with the setup, and you can see gaining time almost immediately. Obviously those wings are just lower than the 6.6 wings and just so much more response, but it was feeling a little bit oversteered to me, which leads back to the point, it's not always going to work for you, and you'll be able to see later on in this of what works for me, and I'll be explaining why it works for me. And in a nutshell, a car that works for me, which sounds like the perfect car, a car that's pointy but the back end is still stable. Obviously that is perfect for everyone, but I have that kind of, I probably prefer cars a little bit more understeery, where it's really down to me to carry the momentum, go through the corner. But you can see we set a 31.3 on the first lap with a setup on, so you gained 1.3 seconds immediately. But this setup is definitely capable of a 30.7. We've already seen that. But once again, that might be because his driving style really suits his setup, and it doesn't suit me at all. So you just really got to find your feet, but remembering to persevere. And that's what I'm doing now. So I'm not restarting. I'm just going to keep on continuing. And you'll probably just go see so many laps in a row, even when I do change setup. Just keep on continuing and just learning each lap. I always remember where I could have gone quicker than the previous laps. When I start the next lap, I know that I needed to go a little bit later here, turn a little bit earlier here, and a little bit earlier this one, be a bit closer to that apex. And over time, don't try and fix everything at once, but just try and put all your progress and learnings all together into one lap, and then that's when you'll get your max potential. And breaking into here definitely could be definitely later going into here now, but this is a very, very slight improvement. So coming across here, could have been a little bit early into there because you can take a lot of curb going through that last corner. And let's see what this is, a 31.2. But again, we are just going to continue. Although I'm not feeling this setup particularly well, I'm just going to continue because I know there is time that I can make up. I'm always trying to get the maximum I can out of myself out of the setup. So this time, not going out wide, actually going a bit tighter, but we still don't get an amazing exit going through here. Let's see what we can do this time. I went a little bit out wide going for this corner, making sure I slowed it down a little bit more this time. And you can see immediately, look how much time we're gaining by just slightly adjusting it. So going to here, just being a little bit more aggressive this time, really throwing, just being a bit more aggressive with this right-hander. And this left-hander, I keep on going out wide onto this curb, and we almost do it again. That was better. You can see just a gradual improvement. It might take you a few laps to get it perfect to how you want, but you need to make those very, very slight improvements. And you can see, look how much time we are up on this time, and definitely tighter coming out this time. And this was a much better lap. Just those small details, and especially in this car, just turning a few meters earlier can just gain you a tenth. Really can. And if you add that up throughout the whole lap, you'll be surprised how much time you can gain. And definitely more aggressive going into a hairpin now. Let's see if I turn in a little bit earlier for this last corner. We'll be braking just at the shadow, and probably not as good as we did on the previous lap. We're coming across the line. That is a 30.9 here, but we did decide to continue a little bit down, but turning in too early this time. And I thought, you know what, a 30.9, I could definitely probably go quicker, but now it's time to really change the setup to something a little bit more to my liking. So actually lowering the rear wing a little bit, because I wanted it to be a little bit more responsive. And you might think, oh, lowering it's going to lower the downforce, but if you actually make the wings closer together, that actually makes the car a little bit more pointy. This time I'm actually going to run a quite a high rear anti-roll bar, something I prefer. And going for the brakes here, I think we're just going to make it just a little bit, easier to change the direction. So not going to get the perfect setup straight away, but that's initially what I changed so far. And let's see how much time I'm actually going to gain, if I do gain any time whatsoever. So going through this last corner, again, we want to be hitting that shadow, getting a good launch up here. And let's see, the delta straightaway should be slightly quicker than the straight line immediately. And you can see immediately we're gaining a lot of time already. So at the 50 meter ball, that's where you want to be turning in. Really want to be delaying your gear shifts down here. If you do it too early, you just go turn into the corner earlier and you go oversteer. You really want to delay that and carry as much speed as possible. And you can see immediately, look how much time we have gained going through this first sector. Let's see, coming off this corner here, a little bit cautious, pretty much exactly what I did before I retired into the pits there. But we're going to continue again, need a few laps under the belt of this, and could have been a bit more aggressive, almost about a tenth down, but just being a little bit more aggressive. Look at the speed, look at the time we've just gained immediately going through there. And the car, I've made the wings a little bit closer together, but that has made it just a little bit more oversteering itself. And immediately I just knew myself that it wasn't going to work going through that double left. So we're going to go back in again, change it more. So actually raising the front anti-roll bar, that will give it a little bit more stability this time. And that's the only thing I've changed. And I really recommend, when you're changing things, to do really one thing at a time. You don't want to go from 6.6 wings and then change it to 1.1 wings and then go complete opposite on the suspension and everything like that, because you won't really know what has actually worked for you. I really recommend changing just one click at a time on one piece of the setup, really. So no, go from 7.10 roll bar to 8.10 roll bar. Don't change the wings or anything like that. No, unless you really know what you're doing, I really wouldn't recommend that. But you can see already a little bit of oversteer going through that first corner, but let's see how much time we gain. And we're just under a 10th up, so that was definitely a bit more positive. Just having a higher front anti-roll bar really just makes it a lot more stable. Be more aggressive this time going into here. You really do need to be aggressive into this, but if you carry too much speed in the slow corners, as I said before, the car just really wants to just wash away from you. And you can see we're definitely up by quite a bit on this delta. Let's see this time, staying nice and tight, not touching that outside curb. And as a result, look at the delta. It has gone up by quite a lot here. Going through this middle sector, we're actually going to purple middle sector through here, but we have got an invalidation. But we're still going to continue because I want to see what it feels like going into the last sector. Because if I would have restarted there, done another lap, been 2 tenths up, I probably might have thrown it away in the last sector because I don't know exactly how late I can brake. So it's so important to just keep that rhythm and just keep that momentum going. It is super, super important. Going through into here again. Probably could have braked a little bit later, just a little bit squirmy on the steering wheel, but I knew there was a lot of time in this setup. But when Again, it feels a little bit oversteery to me. So we'll go across the line. That was a 30.9 again, but I felt I really did know what to change now. So we'll go back into the setup and actually put it to 1/6 wings, if I can read that correctly. And as I'm making the wings a bit further apart, I actually raised the front suspension or the rear suspension. Again, raising that will give you more rotation. So if I change something, I try and balance it out a little bit with something else. And this is my first lap with this setup, and almost immediately you can see straight away this is going to be a very nice lap going into this one, and coming off here, staying nice and tight into here, and we're well over a 10th up already going into this first sector. So that setup is working absolutely insanely going through here, braking as you hit the curb going through here, about middle of the apex, short shifted into third gear to minimize the wheel spin. Going into here, want to be turning in just before the end of that curve. Once that finishes, middle of the track, that's where you want to be turning again. Do quite a late apex, fourth gear. Going into here now, it's a car straight, that's when you'll be turning in, avoiding this exit curve, short shifted into fourth gear. Going into here very, very nicely. And this corner here, you won't be looking just before about 75 meters out. That's where we really want to be hitting it. Late apexes here and being as early as possible on the throttle. Short shifting once again into fourth, into fifth gear, then up into sixth gear. No DRS here, so really got to spot the braking point. And look how much we are up. We're up well over 2/10 on this time. So it seems like a perfect balance so far. This one here, you won't be braking just after the curb, and this one was definitely more aggressive. First gear to get that extra rotation coming into here, spotting the shadow for this left-hander. Once you hit that, that's your braking and turning point. Really nailed that last corner, coming across the line. What time is this going to be? It is a 1:30.5, 2/10 clear of anyone else. That was my first lap with that setup as well. And honestly, this was quite late at night when I was doing this. Honestly, I felt that was enough. And no, on a perfect day, yeah, I think maybe a 30.2, 30.3. But honestly, I want to give you my real perspective. And I was really quite happy with that lap straight away. Don't think I really could have improved too much on it. But that is my setup I'm running here. Exactly what I showed you before. So I had good straight line speed, good cornering grip. And for this kind of car, I feel it works extremely well. Need quite a bit of stopping power around this track though. Maximum tyre pressures, because that will give you a bit better straight line speed and rotation throughout the corners. Lower you go, the less straight line speed, but the more stable and better traction you get. That is a 1:30.5. Thank you so much for watching these videos. I really do appreciate it. Tune in for my live stream tomorrow, and I will catch you then. Peace.